beginning my trip to go to Australia. Now, for this trip, I'm going to be looking for two things. The cliches of Australia. I want to find out what I'm going to find more of. Dangerous animals or racism.
I decided that I didn't know what to do in my life. Oh, and then someone said, hey man, why don't you get married? So I got hitched up with a girl that I loved. Oh, then we had to go somewhere on our honeymoon. Where we gonna go? Dangerous animal, see a racist man who's very tall. Where can I find the place that's in my dream? Maybe it's a place that's close to me. I can understand but cannot see until I take the time to jump upon a plane. Where can it be? Australia, oh.
I've arrived safely in Australia, so I will now be looking around the country to see what stands out the most, racism or dangerous animals.
Riding on in Australia, just like other. Riding on in Australia. Will I find my shame? Will I become the man I was meant to be? Oh no! Will I find out if someone loves me?
Beautiful city of Sydney. First encounter with some animals, but I don't know if they're dangerous, so it may not count. But there's a funny bird. Okay, so we've been here in Australia for mere moments, and something has already occurred. So something bad has happened to my wife, and so I'm just going to ask her what's been going on. So what did the man say?
Well, first I saw him chuck a cigarette at a bird and yelled some profanities at the bird. And then he walked past me and he did a noise like...
Do we think it was racism?
Well, I'm from New Zealand and he's from here, so...
And do you think the bird was dangerous?
No, the bird looked sad and he ran away.
We also have an Anzac memorial here to the brave soldiers who fought in World War I. It could be construed as racism. I have to look up who they were fighting and if it was for racial reasons, so that could be in one column for racism, but I'm not sure. We'll see. Walking along in Sydney and there's this spiders exhibition. However, it's just an exhibition, there's no real life spiders, and that's the kind of thing that I should be looking for dangerous animals. But this could count as half a point, possibly, depending on how disappointing my trip is. Also found the statue of Captain Cook, but my wife informed me that he wasn't that bad, so maybe it doesn't count towards racism. Here's some of this famous stuff in Sydney, like that's the Sydney Harbour Bridge, and then there is the Opera House thing. And yeah, that proves that I'm actually here. This thing's pretty cheesy. Walking in the mystical forest. Maybe in the heart of Sydney, there is something to be found. Something mysterious and ancient in this mystical land. The wonder. So on my first day... sounds stupid. I should leave that bit in. So on my first day in Australia, in Sydney, I didn't have much luck finding racism or dangerous animals, but hopefully the trip gets better from here on in. Luckily, I did get some Australian money, which has some pictures on it. I'm going to check those for either dangerous animals or racism. This note has a man on it whose name is David Unaipon. Maybe he's an Aborigine, I don't know. I'm going to have to check it out and see whether this man has a history of racism or if this is a good thing to be on the money. David Unaipon was this genius Aboriginal inventor who created the modern sheep shear and created the precursor to the helicopter, and was an expert on ballistics and a mad genius. Well, not mad, and a total genius. On the other side, we have Edith Cowan. She was a suffragette, and she was the first female politician to be elected in 1921, so she was fantastic. Did she fight for Aboriginal rights? I think she did, so she was amazing. God damn it. I don't have a 20 on me. I thought I might find a racist person on there, but so far you're doing pretty good, Australia. On the 10 is a man called A.B. Banjo Patterson. He looks like a bit of a cowboy and he's riding a horse. That's fun. I'll have a look into him, see how he's doing. A.B. Banjo Patterson, he wrote Waltzing Matilda and lots of other stuff, and he was apparently a fantastic man. And then on the back we've got this lady here, Mary Gilmore. Mary Gilmore, what did she do again?
Wasn't she the poet?
Yeah, she was a poet and apparently a communist and a socialist who tried to form a commune in, I think, southern Paraguay, and then it failed miserably. But then she came back and did awesome stuff for the suffragettes and everything. Unfortunately, all of these people are brilliant, amazing historical figures who have achieved all kinds of things, and none of them seem to be racists, which is disappointing, and none of them are involved with dangerous animals. I can just get out the good bits.
In place of the AAT decision, but you can't do that in relation to granting of citizenship. Do they want the accountable...
That guy is definitely a racist.
Being second-guessed.
A city of contrast. A city of new beginnings and old happenings. A city of good and bad and of right and wrong. Sydney is the place where the archaic meets the fashionable, and the poor meets the... I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. So far it seems pretty nice. I'm probably not going to find any racism or dangerous animals here. Here's the Queen Victoria building, which looks pretty sexy. Gonna go check it out. Looks pretty legit in here to me. I think it was wishful thinking to expect racism inside the Queen Victoria building.
When my light seems very low, when my brain seems very slow, Sydney, you were there for me.
Live scorpion trapped in a cage. My god, an inanimate funnel web spider in a museum. Scary. Jesus, this spider killed a human in 1927. Good God.
Its distribution is a bit different to what folks might think it is, though. They're not just found in Sydney, even though this species here is commonly known as the Sydney funnelweb. They actually have a distribution extending from Queensland.
But some say the human is the most dangerous animal of all.
But the genetic data is very clear.
Stupid spiders. Take that. Jesus fucking Christ. Fuck that. Going on a boat. Ooh. And we're off to Cockatoo Island. And off we go via boat to Sydney's famous Cockatoo Island, where the first cockatoo was discovered by an Aboriginal man in 1469, which was... what was his name?
Riding on in Australia, just like other. Riding on in Australia, will I find my shame? Will I become the man I was meant to be? Oh no! Will I find out if
scary. Frightening. Here on this remote prisoner island called Cockatoo, my dreams were coming to a head, colliding with the harsh reality of Australia. Only by staring into the distance and formulating my plans could I continue. Was this water worth it? Was anything worth it anymore? I was determined to find the real Australia. So in order to find the real Australia, I'm going to have to go on the road. I'm going to have to muck in and get involved. Get inside the people. And look for that racism and those dangerous animals that I've heard so much about. Let's see the real Australia. Get involved. Download the app. It's an interactive experience. Destination number 1, the hamlet of Lithgow. Driving in Australia.
Traveling while showing the map. A great way of traveling, dude.
The city of Katoomba town. Here at Echo Point in Katoomba, there is a fantastic panorama of some Australian outback. Now, because it's such a wide panorama, I think the chances of there being a wild animal out there are fairly high. So I'm going to give that a 1 score on the dangerous animals count. Out there could possibly be a hippopotamus. There might be a Sumatran snow tiger exactly on top of that peak there. In that little bit there could be a mongoose about to fuck up a snake. So, I mean, it's definitely a dangerous land. I'm glad I still have my will to live, because this could be very tempting. Now we go to see the famous Three Sisters Rocks, which are an Aboriginal place, according to the sign. Oh, holy shit! Whoa, oh, it's not real, don't worry. Finally discovered some racism. This is an Aboriginal place. Look at all the rubbish left here by racist tourists. Impressive rock. So we didn't make it to Lithgow. I would like to apologise to the audience for lying, and it will not happen again. Instead, we stayed at this caravan park next to Lake Wallace, which is famous because Charles Darwin stayed here once, and so did I. But now we're going to Dubbo.
Traveling around the map, seeing that red line, yeah.
So we got kind of bored of Australia, so we decided to come back to Wellington. Idiots. It's Australian Wellington. It's a bit emotional for me because this is my place of birth, the Wellington Pet Barn. We're sure to find some animals at Taronga Western Plains Zoo, outside of Dubbo. Does it still count as dangerous if it's in an enclosure? You be the judge. There could easily be some racism in the car park. I think it's somewhat of a bad sign that they're keeping the rhinos segregated based on race. Just chillin'.
This is the only zoo in Australia where you can see all 3 of these rhino species. Rhinoceros are under threat in the wild from massive increases.
It's gonna attack.
As well as
That's one sexually satisfied rhino. Why are you so tall? Not very dangerous. Hippo, 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 hippo.
Oh, is there a baby?
Have your say, world, on the issue of the hippos. Where do you stand? Download the app. And here we see the hippo in its natural environment, the zoo. I made a little joke that was cheetahs, more like cheat-ders. And my wife didn't get it. She just thinks I'm stupid. But it was a pretty good joke.
Come here.
I like elephants, but I have used up all of my ace commentary on the other animals. Now this is more goddamn like it. I'm feeling pretty unsafe. I don't like this at all. No, 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 no. I'm getting out of here. No. Kangaroos that aren't just roadkill. What did you say to me, bird? Huh? You want some of this? Hi, Wallaby. How are you today? You look pretty chill. I got a new friend. Wallaby. Sup? It was a little bit touch and go there with the tiger, but I was actually not really in any personal danger, but I could have slipped. Now we're going to head to Moree. Here in the great city of Dubbo, which was named by a man who came to this valley and founded this settlement, but he misheard the Aboriginal word Thubbo or Thubo, I'm not particularly sure how you say it, and decided that it was actually Dubbo. And I think that's kind of racist. To not listen to the local people and figure out what they're actually saying, I think I can put one racism point for this. In the future, check with the locals to see what a word means. Otherwise, your place ends up being called Dubbo.
Dubbo, Dubbo, I am from Dubbo, said the wise man. Dubbo, Dubbo, if you are not from Dubbo, you are a piece of shit.
How do you turn it off? Oh, alright.
Whoa.
What? Am I not doing it right? Oh, there we go.
So we're staying the night in Narrabri instead of Moree. So I lied again. What you gonna do? Off into the great unknown. What will we find? How much racism? How many? You know the drill by now. It's getting old. Here we are making a short stop in the mecca of Inverell, on the way to Grafton. Inverell has been described as the sexual capital of Australia. By me. This is possibly the most danger I've been in from an animal on this whole trip. Uh-oh. Better run. Here's the Inverell market, which can only be described as pure, uncontrolled chaos. So we've decided that we just do not feel safe in Inverell. It's just too chaotic, too dangerous, and we're getting the hell out of here. Now I know how military veterans must feel. So we're going to head on to Glen Innes. We've stopped in the town of Glen Innes for lunch, which has just over 5,000 people. And as you can see, it's absolutely raging with activity. You can see that there is so much occurring. It's just a hive of occurrences.
A great way of traveling, do. Seeing that red line moving, traveling around that map.
It was my powerful belief that coming on the road in Australia would reveal racism and wild animals to my heart's content, but so far it's been difficult. But if I want to find some dangerous animals, it's now or never. Here I am at Katoomba Walk in Gibraltar National Park. Apparently there are black snakes here, which are afraid of humans and run away, but maybe one will come at me. So I didn't see or fight any snakes, but it is actually kind of scary just walking around amongst the rocks and knowing that there's like poisonous snakes somewhere around here, but I didn't Mortal Kombat with any of them or anything.
I've got to go to Lawrence. Lawrence is the future of humankind. I've got to go to Lawrence. Lawrence is the future of humankind. I've got to go.
Well, here it is, folks. The people said this expedition wasn't worth it, that I would never find the dangerous animals and or racism that I was looking for, but here it is, a deadly Australian spider, which could easily leap up and tear the limbs from my face. What other horrors will we find in this insane, mad country called Australia? But I'm gonna have to Google this guy and find out how deadly and poisonous and dangerous he really is. Let's find out how close to death I really was. It was a St. Andrew's cross spider, which apparently in certain lights could be seen as deadly because it has the power of a bee sting, and if you're allergic to bees and or the sting of these spiders, you could die. So I could have died just then, even though they're not aggressive.
Seeing that red line, yeah. Traveling around the map. Gonna make my dream.
We have come to Yamba, which apparently was voted somewhere the best, greatest place in Australia, and I gotta say, it's pretty fucking good here. It's almost as good as Dubbo. There's probably some sharks out here, and also, surfers are notoriously racist, so maybe we'll bump into a racist surfer and he'll tell us how much he hates this race or that race, and then that will finally give me a racism point. Come on, Australia.
It is very windy on the beach. It's so windy.
Check it out, we found some kangaroos. Windy, windy, windy. So we came to famous holiday location Byron Bay, but disgustingly there are people here, which is something that we could not have expected, it being one of the most popular tourist locations, so we're getting out of this hellhole. Here we are at Springbrook National Park, just outside of the Gold Coast, and as you can see, the weather has decided to be horrible and it's very, very rainy and awful. I think that could probably be counted as racism against us Kiwis. This country refused to give us good weather so that we could see nice views at Springbrook National Park, and now we're relegated to on the lower ground looking at this waterfall. How do you think the Aborigines might have felt? Quite persecuted, I'd say. There's a fucking turkey over there. I think I'm in great danger right now. So that's a good dangerous animal point there. Staring into the beautiful wood, I came to the realization that my journey was not complete. This scared me. Soon I was touching rocks and looking at spiderwebs, trying to taste something of the dangerous animals and racism I had heard. But it only tasted like defeat. Here I am on the beautiful Gold Coast, and we can see Surfers Paradise down there. It's not the nicest day, but there's some surfing going on. A bunch of people watching some surfers. I'm not quite sure, but I'm guessing that this land was probably taken from Aborigine people in a racist way, and that I bet some of the surfers out there are being racist at this moment. So that's one racism point. And there's probably like a shark just about here. And it could leap out of the water and kill me, like Sharknado. Surf and turf, man. There's some radical surfing, dude. Hanging 10. Riding the purple dipper. It's gnarly, dude. Yeah. Le tritoque. Le zoom. What are you doing in the tree? There's been a bit of a racial situation. There were some kids down the bottom of the place we were walking up and they were smoking marijuana. This guy came up behind me and my wife and he was like, "Ah, I could smell your fumes from a mile away. If I was a cop, you'd be in some strife." And clearly, it's because I was wearing this hoodie. As you know, the hoodie has become a racial symbol because Trayvon Martin in America was shot and killed while wearing a hoodie. And obviously, that guy thought I was black from behind because of my hood. So I've been racially profiled, and now I know what being a minority is like. And my wife can vouch for this. Can you tell what happened to me?
He thought you had been smoking weed.
And do you think it was racial?
Yes, probably.
Are you just saying that because I told you to?
Yes.
There you have it.
Talking about that Gold Coast, it's the place where I belong. Talking about that Gold Coast, I'm gonna sing my Gold Coast song. Yeah! Brisbane, you are confusing Brisbane. Oh, I hate your toll roads, I hate your toll roads so much I don't want to pay it. Brisbane, I hate your toll roads, Brisbane.
So we finally made it to sunny
make me
Brisbane,
pay.
but unfortunately it has not all been roses. Last night as we drove in, we saw that there was a toll road in the tunnel, so we tried to turn off, and then when we went into the exit, that was also a toll road, so we were lied to. The toll automatically scans your car and charges you money, and you have to sign up to a website and put your registration on there in order to not be charged an extra fee. So I had to sign up to that website, but you have to be from Australia. I put in my New Zealand address, and then I just arbitrarily said that it was in Queensland, and then that allowed me to sign up, but the rental company didn't specify that we should put the rental company's address, which may have been the case, so I'm not sure. And I put my credit card information in, and I feel like this toll situation is very confusing for foreigners, so I think that's pretty fucking racist against anyone who's not an Australian, and that's a big race point. And then we're driving around Brisbane, we didn't know where the fuck to go, was confused, tried to find places to stop, but there was all these no parking zones, and so we were totally trapped and we didn't know where to go, and then we struggled to find a restaurant, and then we finally found a Thai restaurant, and it wasn't that good. It wasn't very good food, and I was just like, this fucking place is evil. I hate Brisbane. I hate everyone in it. It's a fucking horrible piece of shit, this goddamn Brisbane. Fuck you, Brisbane, forever. But then we went to my wife's friend's house, and it's really nice, and we'll probably be able to park here, and it's close to town, and we're just going to wander into town and get some food, and I like Brisbane. Going to a place called Bargain Mania, going to buy some thongs, also known as jandals. Oh yeah. And a hat. And maybe some slippers. Bargains. I took a wrong turn just then, so I fucking hate Brisbane again. Piece of shit. I'm in the wrong fucking lane. Fuck this place. Can the bargains make up for the traumatizing drive here? I could find absolutely nothing that I wanted. That's a strong fuck Brisbane point, but I'm gonna try. Target. Target had everything I wanted. A hat, some thongs, and some slippers. Brisbane. Gotta love it. Turns out in Brisbane you can also get food. Not so bad after all.
We are being stalked by this deadly lizard.
Here in Anzac Square, which commemorates the lives lost of Australian soldiers who fought in many different wars. Unfortunately, some of these wars have racial undertones, such as the South African War of 1899 to 1902, I think it was, which left many black Africans dispossessed, so that's one racism point, and Vietnam, which did have some racial undertones, so that's another racism point. Sorry, Brisbane. I just wanna be in your panorama. I just wanna be in your panorama. I just wanna be in your panorama. To find a bald knob, but I couldn't find it. The bald knob is around here somewhere, because here's the Bald Knob Road. And Chinaman's knob was too far south, so I had my heart set on Bald Knob. This is the best I could do. I'm sorry folks, I've let you down, but I put in my best effort. Here I am in the historic town of 17,770, as you can see here. It's a little bit lazy to just name your town after a number. I probably would have preferred some racism than this flagrant lack of effort. Here, besides the gleaming water of 1770, I realized my journey was almost at an end, and yet my hopes had not been realized. Like sand. The only thing was to crawl back into the womb. In this case, the ocean. My face contorted, but my feet continued. If only I was a real man. Although I've struggled to find racism and dangerous animals, we were at a fair earlier and we did see a sexist looking sign. So I'm just going to ask my wife about that. So, can you tell us what happened?
Well, we were just walking past the stall and there was all these kind of little signs, you know, that you put in your garden. And one said something like, what was it? Dangerous wife or something?
Wild wife.
Wild wife. Yeah,
God.
I just wouldn't have expected that in the 21st century.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. We're not looking for sexism, so it doesn't count, but... Alright. This could be an indication of the terror I might find up north. This angry beast is very aggressive, and it's in an attack stance, as you can see. And, uh-oh. Better back off. Looks like it's getting territorial. If you stand behind a horse, they can kick quite strongly, and can cause a lot of damage and pain, so I think that would be a very good danger point there.
Townsville, the wackiest place I've ever been. You're so crazy, Townsville. The silliest faces in the world can be found there. I don't mean that in a racist way.
Yeah, I'm here in the wacky, zany, silly town of Townsville. And here we are at Reef HQ. We're gonna get our danger on, and we're gonna be toe-to-toe, wrestling and fighting and battling with sharks and underwater snakes and alligators. And I'm gonna kick some fucking ass this time. This way to the true Australia. This fish looks fairly deadly in its own way. I'm pretty sure if we had a fight, I'd win. I could beat the shit out of you, fish. And inside they got a crocodile, but you can tell it's too scared to face me because it's running away. This Corelli morph is definitely a beta life form. Ah, so you're the hyphen moray I heard so much about. Well, you look like a coward, man. You're just hiding amongst the rocks. Can't come out of your cage, can't face me. Psh, typical. I definitely think these fish and corals are trying too hard to be all like naturey and majestic and stuff. I mean, I could easily be that way too, I just choose not to be. Turtles. Kicking ass, taking names. While this is pretty impressive, I'm not sure about the ethics of keeping a human in the water tank. It's a little bit strange. Oh, that I could fight that shark.
I don't know how to do that.
So there you have it. Contrary to the rough and tumble image given across by Australians like Steve Irwin, I was not allowed to just jump into the pool with sharks and animals and flail wildly about and try to defeat them in combat. So, Townsville. More like Shitville.
The highest town in Australia. smoke every day. I'm gonna get high, so goddamn high, in Ravenshoe, highest town in Australia. Get fucking high.
I'm in the town of Ravenshoe. The interesting thing about this place is that it appears to be the marijuana capital of Australia. Everywhere you go, there's paraphernalia extolling the virtues of being high, saying this is Queensland's highest town. Everyone you talk to, they're high as fuck. Pretty cool, and the authorities have turned a blind eye.
Millstream Waterfall, the widest waterfall in Australia. And I was here.
Here we are in Australia. And what do we find? Termite mountains. These mounds can grow larger than a man. Now they may not be a risk to me or humans, but if it fell on you, much pain could be caused. Not hot springs. It's where we belong. Yo. It's a way of life. There is a little bit of danger here in Ravenshoe. Roaming bands of dogs that lick you constantly. Oh god. I'm in great personal danger. The licking, the tongue. Oh god. It starts again. No. No, not the licking. Not the licking. This is actually a bit of a holy pilgrimage for me, because my good friend, the YouTuber Platypus, was born here. Yes, this is Townsville, also known as the Platypus Park. Many of you may not realize this, but Platypus is actually Australian. He was formed when a scientist was walking past with the soul of Nietzsche and other philosophers and dropped it into a lake full of platypus, and Platypus was born, like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but more philosophical.
Whoa!
Here we see, in its natural environment, the wonderful platypus, surely the most majestic of all of God's creatures, owning noobs since 1742. Unfortunately, they dive and go under for 45 seconds, so they're awfully hard to keep track of. Disappointing. For $8.50, I would expect a platypus to sit on my lap and then me be able to fondle it at my discretion. Not worth it at all. At no point did I feel in danger, and none of the people I was surrounded by did any racism. We're going to have to up the ante and go to Daintree River to find the true racism in crocodiles and danger. I'm just sort of floofling about, but it's hard to see. There he is. Flooby-doop-doo, I'm a platypus. This is what I do all day.
He's so little way.
Yeah. Tiny little platypus. Just doobling.
Daintree River, bringer of death. It's quite a dangerous river, baby. Daintree River, bringer of death, bringer of death.
The Daintree River, the final frontier of man versus beast. Here we'll find what we need, or we'll die trying. Nature.
Daintree River, bringer of death. It's quite a dangerous river, baby. Daintree River, bringer of death, bringer of death. It really makes you smile. A fucking crocodile is gonna eat your soul if you will try to swim in the Daintree. Man fell in, oh I got a grin. A crocodile, it ate his chin, and his girlfriend, oh his girlfriend cried. He tried to swim in the Daintree. Bringer of death in the brain tree. Bringer of death, it's called the brain tree. Bringer of death, it's called the Daintree. Not those other names.
I want to take him down. It's time to go. Let's rumble. You can hear all the other people are scared, but I'm not. I'm not scared at all. I have no fear. I've decided to not jump in and fight a crocodile just out of respect for nature. Because we have to preserve our heritage.
Traveling while showing the map. A great way of traveling, do.
Here we are at our final destination, Cape Tribulation. A rainforest where the cassowaries and the crocodiles and the turtles rumble, an eternal struggle of primordial violence vying for superiority with the humans. Let's see the final bastion of Australia's dangerous animals and/or racism. It may look amazing, but over the course of history, 7 billion people have died on this beach at the hands of the marauding crocodile hordes. And down there we can see some tourists who may or may not be saying racist things. Who knows? Walking in that remote environment, I remembered what Nietzsche said. If you stare into the abyss long enough, it stares into you. And I thought that because I couldn't think of any other quotes. Drinkable water at Mossman.
I got nothing to say about Cairns. Quite a boring place. Nothing to notice there. Cairns. Your lagoon was too cold. Couldn't think of anything else to say about you, girl. What's the point of Cairns?
This is our final opportunity, our last destination, Cairns. If we can't find racism here, there's none in Australia. Haven't had any luck really with the racism and the dangerous animals, but here at the Cairns Lagoon, which is free to the public, and the awesome thing about this is that anyone can go in, even New Zealanders. So I'm leaving Australia momentarily. Here I am at the airport. Before I leave, there's one thing that needs to be relayed. At the camp at Daintree River, there were some Germans talking to an Australian dude, and they covered exactly 2 subjects. The first thing they talked about was racism against the Aboriginal people and how shocking and terrible it was. And the second subject they talked about was dangerous animals. So I think I can include that as 1.4 racism being on the mind for people in Australia. And I guess that's its own form of racism, sure. And dangerous animals being on the collective consciousness of Australia, so just as I suspected. I knew that that was a thing here. See you on the other side of the ditch. Goodbye, Australia.
Bye.
See you next time when I go to the outback. I don't know if that'll ever happen. Maybe.
I'm heading back to Wellington. Don't know if I found enough dangerous animals and racism to satisfy my dreams. Dangerous animals, they can be quite tall, and sometimes you can be quite racist. I don't know why I really have to try finding dangerous animals and racism. Go back home to live my life and never know just what I really missed in Wellington.
I have returned. So here I am back in Wellington. So lazy that I'm just recording on my phone, not using a recorder or anything, as the cat walks away. So I thought that I would find dangerous animals and racism in Australia. But interestingly, on the way over there, my wife was sitting next to a New Zealander on the plane. And he said, the Maori people ate and cannibalized the Maori Oris. And my wife informed me that that's a racist myth, because the Moriori's were actually a tribe of Maori people. And the ignorant racists in New Zealand use the myth to say that the Maori people are cannibals because they want to paint them as savages. So it turns out New Zealand was the real racist.